Hi there folks, hope you're good. Today we're going to be talking about one of the most influential British composers of the 17th century. Today we're going to be exploring the life of Henry Purcell. Henry Purcell was born in London, England in 1659. One of the things that I'm sure you know about English history is that England has a proud tradition of having kings and queens going back all the way from 1066 to the present day. But funnily enough, Henry Purcell was actually born in a short period of time where there wasn't a king and queen. It's a bit of a weird time with Roundheads and Cavaliers and Oliver Cromwell. It's a whole thing. But anyway, Henry himself grew up in a musical family. His father was Thomas Purcell, who was a musician, and his uncle was actually a semi-famous composer himself. Early in Henry's life, he became a chorister at the Chapel Royal, where I'm sure he learned so much about music. He started composing as a child and wrote his first piece at around about the age of 11 or 12. He composed a lot of music and in the process got better and better and better. That led up to the completion of a chamber opera called Dido and Aeneas, which many people believe is the first ever English opera to be written. It became very popular, and in 1679 he became the organist at the famous Westminster Abbey. Funnily enough, he was actually offered the chance to become the organist at the Chapel Royal. Remember the place that I told you he started his musical journey at? He couldn't resist the offer and he ended up doing two jobs at the same time. These were actually two of the most prestigious musician jobs that you could have in England at this point in time, and Henry had both. I mean, like, come on, leave some for the rest of us, you know what I mean? While being the royal organist sounds like an amazing job, and I'm sure it was, it came with a lot of responsibilities. For example, he had to write a piece for the coronation of King James II in 1685. And 2 years later, in 1660, he wrote the first of two pieces to help celebrate the birthday of Queen Mary II. Unfortunately though, only 5 years after that, he ended up having to write the anthem for Queen Mary's funeral. So as the monarchy changed and people celebrated birthdays and all of that, Henry Purcell had to keep on the job and make sure that his music was speaking directly to the occasion. During his life, he wrote music in many different styles. He wrote sacred music, he wrote odes, he wrote cantatas, so much music. And it would sound like he's done all of this over a really long period of time, but actually no. Unbelievably, he'd written all of this music and had these prestigious jobs all before he turned 40 years old. In fact, he suddenly passed away in 1695 when he was only 36. Obviously, this is back in the day when you couldn't just go to the doctor or get some Calpol or some paracetamol from the supermarket. If a disease hit you and it hit you hard, the likelihood was that you might die. And so, like with so many of these composers in this period of history, we're in a sense robbed of what could have been when they've died so young. Nevertheless, because of his high standing as a musician, he was buried in Westminster Abbey. Being buried at Westminster Abbey really signifies your importance to English, if not British, if not world history. For example, other people who were buried at Westminster Abbey include Sir Isaac Newton, Queen Elizabeth I, and Professor Stephen Hawking. And even now, 300 plus years after his death, Henry Purcell is still considered to be one of the most important composers that England has ever produced. I hope you found that interesting. It's a little snapshot into the life of Henry Purcell, the short life of Henry Purcell. I encourage you to listen to some of his music and really try to understand what made his music so important and so valuable to us today. And if you ever get the chance to go to Westminster Abbey, take a look and see if you can find out where Henry Purcell was laid to rest. I'll give you a hint though. He's actually buried next to one of the instruments that he was well known for, the organ. I think it really doesn't get much more poetic than that. Take care of yourselves. Peace.